What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode 77, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And this is going to be a fun episode. We didn't know this. So when Trista and I first jumped on, when I went to go read her bio, she has an imprint in Costa Rica. And technically she lives close to me. Well, not right now. She's in the US, but has a house or travels close to me inside the space, which I thought was really kind of fun. But we dive into a lot of talking about healing and the work within us to heal and honoring our trauma and bringing it forward and what it means when we heal ourselves to heal the earth, to heal humanity, for us to be able to make our imprint in the world. We talk about conscious creating, we move into infinite possibilities, and we talk really rooted about the connection within our hearts. So this was an expanded experience. It was really great to have Trista on. She is a bright light, which you're going to feel and see through her as you move through this episode. And you could tell she has a pure heart, and you can tell she was a little bit hesitant at first to talk about, some of the depths of the darkness. And as you guys know me, if you've been here a while, I want to pull that out of people because there's so much story there, right? And ownership that we take in life through all of the mechanisms that we get to go through. So I'm so excited. And I said excited again, to lay this into your field today, to talk through this experience that we don't need to be suffering anymore. We can make choices in our life to move through and get out of suffering. And if you are still suffering, you are making a choice to stay there. And that may hit you hard in your field right now, but after you listen to this, you'll have an understanding even more depthfully. So without further ado, episode 77, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. All right. This is going to be a really powerful conversation as long as it records. That's all I have to say. So Trista, I am so stoked to just lean in with you today and to just find wherever we go. And I say that with so much love and respect for both of us, but we were called to be here together. And I love the fact that we are here together. And we just chatted briefly before we hit record about Costa Rica a bit, which I know is going to come up because we're going to be talking a lot about healing in the land and all this dynamic of stuff. But like I said to you, welcome, firstly, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you too. And it's really funny. I say I'm excited a lot, so I'm really working on finding new words, but I am excited. I am excited. And I said to you right before we hit record that I want to kind of open out the gate. I want to come out of the gate talking about this powerful line that you said in your bio that I think is just going to lay a landscape to the conversation that we're about to have. And in your bio, it says, when we heal ourselves, we then heal the earth. And I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but in the essence of that. So let's just dive right into this conversation. And what does that mean to you? And tell us whatever's coming up in connection with what's flowing through you, because let's go.
Well, I have been on a healing journey for, I want to say 12 years. So I grew up in a place that was very in survival mode, different trauma. We suddenly lost my dad at 10 years old. There's 6 of us. So my mom was a single mom of 6 from 16 to 5 years old. I was 10. And, I think a lot of us didn't get the emotional support that we needed growing up. I think it's very common that we were told to suck it up. And, we all in my family, none of us really came together to grieve my dad. We were all, I remember going in my room, crying by myself, so all of that I had a lot of suffering, in my mind, even though losing my dad made me closer with God and praying again and praying more. I also struggled with just overthinking, negative thinking, negative thoughts about myself, feelings of unworthiness, feelings that I wasn't loved unless someone else loved me, and both of my parents struggled with addiction. My dad liked to smoke pot and drank rum and Coke, and my mom was a beer drinker. So I grew up seeing that as, that's how you live. When you get older, you drink, you party, you hang with your friends, it was very normal. So by the time I was 13, I just kind of dove into that. And I feel like that's the time when we're learning to really be ourselves. Like we're kind of
Yes.
learning who we are. And I just kind of ran from that, from like my shadows and the dark places. So I got to a point, I was just smoking weed all the time and drinking. And even though I got through school, I graduated with my bachelor's, I still emotionally was very just up and down, toxic relationships, neglecting my emotions, neglecting my body, eating crap food. And what I learned, and actually in like from my late teens into my 20s, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mom. I resented her. I felt that I couldn't even tell her I love her. Like it was like to that point where I was just like, but as I started to heal myself, I grew more compassion, and I was able to heal my relationship with my mom, and I was able to even have compassion for my partner at the time, who also was an addict. And I noticed that just as you heal yourself, the people around you start to heal and like vibrate that higher loving energy, because what you put out, a lot of times we match energy, right? So I think that when you're putting out that loving, accepting energy, even though you may feel hurt or the person may be struggling, I think it ripples, right? And I started, for example, when I was living in Costa Rica, as I'm doing my healing journey, I woke up to the fact that I'm like, I need to do something that I love and to give back. So I started teaching in the little town where I was, and helping. I did a lot of like leadership, mostly English, but team building and free English classes. And that from there, I teamed up with a nonprofit who came and visited, and they heard it as, in Uvita, it might be not as bad, but in Drake Bay, water is a serious issue. Water quality is a serious issue, and they just accept it. So me healing myself, I'm trying to, I guess, make this long story not too long. Okay. But me healing me gave me the capacity to heal the relationship with my mom, and which gave me the capacity to be more compassionate and open to my partner at the time, who was struggling with drinking and drug addiction as well, and then I also had the capacity to give to the community, and then reach out to, I teamed up with a nonprofit. We started a water project. We've done one big water project, which gave water to one of the elementary schools there. It's with a rain catchment system. And then we've done 3 projects since, which gave 100 filters to 100 families. So we've given 300 families filters, which gives them clean water, safe, clean water for up to 10 years.
That's amazing.
That's on a kind of a smaller scale, but I think it ripples out. And as you can heal yourself, you raise your consciousness. And, I'm a big follower and, I guess, a student of Louise Hay. I don't know if you know Louise Hay and Dr. Wayne Dyer. And those are definitely like catalysts for me in my healing journey. And I truly believe, as they did, that you raising your consciousness and sharing this light with others, like who we really are, that love, that light, that who we are, helps raise their consciousness. And I think the reason we're here is really to learn, to love, and to be the light for others, to do the same, and to serve, right? To serve and help others. So, and my mom actually, she passed away last December in 2022. So I was able and she was sick for a couple years before she died, but it's something that I was so grateful for, because one of my sisters did not heal her relationship with my mom. Like, she was still very resentful, even when my mom was dying. So it was like my mom was on her deathbed and my sister was still like holding on to those things, like angry with her. And it's, when someone hurts you, and even if they don't do it intentionally, because my mom didn't get the care that she needed emotionally, she was the eighth child out of 10. So she did not get what she needed either. So, we're here to learn and to grow from our experience and to heal. So, and as I'm healing, my son, gets that higher vibrating, I guess, me, because if I would have had children 12 years ago, I was a totally different person. So and I think it ripples. I think there's no way that you can heal and not affect another person. Like, simply said, I think there's no way. It's too powerful. Love and the light that we carry is too powerful. There's no way that you cannot affect another person, another community, and our world, really.
So. and I totally agree, like, in all the things. And I'm like, okay, where are we going to take this? Because I could I could lead you into all different directions, just like all the stuff that you just spoken into and said. But I think I really want to take this into the space of, like, there was a time in your life that you had to make a choice and a decision to make changes, to move, to honor whatever it was. If you were an alcoholic, or if you were abusing drugs, or whatever the thing was, you briefly mentioned as 13-year-old, that's what you saw. Like, I look forward to finding out, if you want to share kind of the dynamics of what you were going through that, like, brought up in you that ability to, like, go, okay, something has to change, or this needs to maneuver, or whatever it was, because there was something that was the catalyst, right? And we all have it in our awakening process. We all have it in our light-filled process, that we make a choice and a decision to no longer have, or to no longer be, or to no longer do that, and to seek something else. So what was that for you that kind of led you into the space and time and the work and, Louise Hay and all the things like that?
So I went to Australia to study abroad in 2012, and it caused me to really be more patient with myself. I didn't really learn anything much in school.
Yeah. Well,
but I did
high
learn
most of the time. Makes sense.
Well, there I didn't smoke so much because it wasn't as common. It was drinking. I was drinking. Anyway, but something happened where I had to learn patience with myself, and I think that kind of started it, right? I did a month-long Greyhound trip before I went home. So I got home in December 2012, and then I couldn't stop. Like, I got home and I was like still on the run, going to the bars 3-4 days a week, looking for connection, looking for feeling worthy, to feel loved. I think because I didn't, I only had my dad in my life, who worked a lot. He worked a lot to support us. I never really got that male love that I needed. So I always thought I had to please others, or that I needed a man in my life to fill that void.
Right.
So in my suffering, being hungover all the time, and, looking for men out in the bars, and never really finding connection, which is what I really wanted. Like, I had girlfriends. I had really good girlfriends, but I was missing, the real connection I was missing was with myself.
Of course.
And I was suffering and hungover. And I remember a point happened was, I remember one spring morning, I woke up sweaty, nauseous, stinky from the
Yeah.
night before drinking, and had to run to the bathroom really quick to throw up.
Yeah.
And when I got myself off the floor, I felt like crap. My
Yep.
blinds were just open enough to where I could see outside. And it was like the most beautiful spring day. The butterflies flying, the azaleas blooming. And it was like one of those first days you can go to the beach. And I couldn't go. I had so much regret that I had drank too much the night before that I couldn't do one of my favorite things, which was go to the beach on, after a long winter when you're like ready to go to the beach, that I was in that place. And in that moment, I saw my mom, or myself and my mom, because my mom had been struggling with depression and addiction to alcohol. And I was like, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. I do not want to suffer and be hungover and miss beautiful days like this because I spent the night drinking. So at that moment is when I decided I was going to change my drinking ways.
Nice.
And my sister had given me a book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And that was like the first thing that opened my mind to a different way to live, a different way to think. And it was like a slow learning of like, okay, I don't have to have all this suffering. I started yoga, I started meditation, I started writing more in my journal. And it just became, I knew that I could feel better. I knew that life could be better than what it was. So I started searching for it. I was tired of feeling like crap. I was tired of missing out on life. And I just started searching. And that's when I came across like Louise Hay and Dr. Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks, and just really diving into anything I could read. Eckhart Tolle was another huge Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. That was another huge like catalyst for my my healing journey. And that's when I learned about trauma and how that was showing up in my life now and how to heal that. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
I don't even remember what the question was, so it doesn't even matter. Nothing else. Like, we're good. Like I said to you before, I just float around. I'm like, no, this was great. And it's really funny that you mentioned these books, because the other day I just put a post on Facebook that was like, I'm just curious, like, what book did you read that changed your life? And for me, my first ever personal development book was The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO from Robin Sharma, which I read actually 20 years ago, which is even crazy to think. So I look a lot younger than I am. I'm actually like 42, almost 43 this year, which most people are like, there's no way. I'm like, yes, I live in Costa Rica and it actually works for me inside of the space and stuff. But powerful change, right? We make a decision to read something and those books radiate an energy through us, which is the exact concept that you just talked about. Our light, when we do the work, then the work radiates through us. And, I do work a lot with entrepreneurs, and not everybody is an entrepreneur though in my world. And some people think, well, I don't have a product in business to do this with, or I don't have this. And I'm like, no, it's your light, yourself, that's making an impact. It's you stepped into your light and you are taking personal responsibility, doing the work, pulling the work in, speaking about the things necessary, stepping up, even to do this podcast episode with me, to be like, I'm going to be vulnerable and transparent, and just letting you know, like, most of my childhood was the exact same as yours. Except for I think I smoked more weed than you did. Because like I would go at lunch, we'd go smoke a blunt at the time, so cool. And then we'd go back to school and I would have like gym, typing or keyboarding class, and like maybe band or something. And I could do all of those high. So like, and we always used to have a great time, and our teachers were like, whatever about us, in grade school. Right. And just, that's how we lived life. And I remember the days between 19 to 23, just like you. I don't know what age you were, but like, I don't even remember half my life in that time. I couldn't even tell you. I were like things that happened because I was drunk and blacked out or puking or drank too much. I always seemed to get to work on time though, which was really kind of impressive. Because like now, if I was ever hungover, I don't even think I'd be able to do anything the next day. Never mind go to work, inside of the space, but
Yeah.
I get the calling that's moved through you, right? I get the dynamics of what you're speaking to and speaking about. And so you've done this work, you've recognized in the parts of you that the shadow side you brought up, the dynamics of doing the work. What did you find was like the hardest part for you to move through? Like, I've got a couple hard parts that I speak to openly and in the world, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that see us on the other side of things, or they may be looking at us from their own viewpoint and be like, oh, she had it easy, or da 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 da, when none of the work is easy. But we just make a choice every day to keep stepping into that. So I'd love to just hear, like, what was the hardest part for you about it all? Like, where was it, like, yeah, like ownership of it, or like, I don't know, what was it?
That is a good question.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I think you have to. I think the hardest thing was, you know, being brave enough
Mm-hmm.
to choose me.
Mm.
Um, Being brave enough to listen to the voice, even
Yeah.
though society says it's not normal or that's not safe. Um, Being brave enough to listen to my intuition and being quiet enough to hear it, to hear the
Mm.
guidance.
Mm.
My drinking, I decided in 2012 to take control of my drinking, but I didn't
Yep.
really take control of it. I mean,
Yep.
I went through episodes where I did really good, but then
Of
out of
course.
nowhere I'd black out one night, you know.
Mm.
I would be good, I would, so I think healing my drinking was a very big journey for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't been drunk since July 2021, and I
Nice.
don't really drink anymore. I have one drink every 4 months maybe. But that was really hard giving up, and even now I can't even say I'm like 100% alcohol free, because I still will have like even though like I drink it and my body is like, you're
It's
not
a
a
no
you
go.
don't drink anymore,
Yeah.
because it's just like it doesn't taste good. I As soon as if I feel any kind of, you know something off, like not aligned, I'm like repelled by it, because I think
Yeah.
we're mostly connected to like our soul or God or the universe when we're sober. I mean, I think there
Oh
are,
yeah.
when I used to get high, I would feel connected because sometimes you just zone everything out.
Yep.
But drinking was tough. It was a tough That was a tough journey for me. But also, even now is choosing to pave my own path and
Mm-hmm.
choosing me, and not listening to others and doing something different. Because I think when you heal yourself and you're on that path,
Mm-hmm.
people are looking at you like you're crazy, and they're like,
Oh yeah.
you should be, doing this because it's safer, and
Mm-hmm.
all of these things and so I think that's hard. I think that's the hardest thing, is when you're
Yeah.
doing something that no one else has done,
Yeah.
and that you know of anyway, right? Who's in your family or friend circle. So that's hard.
Yep.
I think that's one of the hardest things.
Well, you're like the pioneer, right? It's like, the people I work with are changing ancestral lineage. Like, they're stepping into the space to take the ownership of and to transition and to create wealth for their families and beyond their families, and all the things that they're driving towards, where our parents maybe didn't think about that. Our grandparents were just trying to raise kids and get by and move energy through and grow their own foods and all this stuff. At least that's where, in the families I come from, right? And nobody thought about wealth. Like, they weren't thinking about, massive impact in the world. They were thinking about, what do I need today to move through? Like, my mom is a 10th child. Imagine having 10 kids. Like, you're six, right? Like, you're one of six. Like, it's a lot of energy, and the dynamics of what your mom went through, losing your dad, and it wasn't a planned, event, or you weren't, like, it was traumatic in the way that he left the world. And it was like everything got shook for you. So it's like, we're in this space and time in the energetic capacity of really making changes that are long lasting for our lineages. And you mentioned your son, and the healing you've been doing then radiates into him, where we're still like, you're still his mom, and you're still going to imprint something he's probably got to work on later in his life. And that's just the thing, because you had to work on your mom and the things in your life and all the stuff. And my mom used to say to me all the time when I was a kid, like, I hope you have two girls just like you. And I didn't understand she was cursing me at the time, so like, I was like, like, she was trying to embed so that I would understand what she had to go through with me as a daughter. And I can understand, a rebellion daughter that didn't want to follow the rules that humanity sets because they didn't make any sense. And, the trailblazer of energy and, like, yeah, all of that stuff. But it's a cool space that we can be in to recognize this and to step in. But just like you, what are they going to think? Letting go of people was probably a big one too, because the friends you used to party with no longer are around because they only want to party. And you're like, I'm not partying anymore. And they're like, what do you mean you want to go for a tea instead of have, a glass of wine and do the things, right? And then the personal responsibility side. And I love how you brought up boldness, like, of being bold and making decisions and being brave, in the space of courageous action, because it's what's required. It's like one of the key things I talk about right now is courage. For us to change and make changes, it's in the courage, right? So if I bring that back to today, how is your bravery and courage showing up in your life now? Like, obviously staying consistent, in the space of stuff. And I could go down the path of talking about alcohol and the vibration of it and why it was brought onto the earth plane to keep us in a lower vibrational state. But those of us that see that are moving through it to be able to expand our light, which is amazing. But, like, yeah, where's the bravery and courage now in your life? What does that look like for you now, coming out of some of the shifts you've made?
Um, I think, right. Well, I'm a single mom, so it's an everyday
Yeah.
decision, right, to follow what I know I'm called to do,
Yeah.
and also take care of my son in the best way that I can, like
Yeah.
teaching him, and there's a lot of people who follow, like, for example, people in my family, they have a certain way that they live.
Right.
Very no really boundaries with the type of things they watch and in their tablets and stuff like that. And I have become more lenient, but being like, I know that this is not okay for a 4-year-old child, and sticking
Yeah.
with that. Because when I don't have a partner that's like on my side, who's
Yeah.
saying, like, especially with my child, like, I don't have,
Yeah.
he wants something and it's just my word or his word, and
Yeah.
his father we talk to him every day. We have a good relationship, but he's in Costa Rica.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
he isn't really part of all the things.
Yeah.
And showing up, not only for myself and building my business, because I am in these early stages of building my business
Yeah.
that God and universe has called me to do. So showing
Yeah.
up and being courageous, even though it's like, there's a song called Build a Boat. Do you know it? It's by
No.
Colton Dixon. I
Okay.
love the song. But it's pretty much, I would say, the story about Noah's Ark. So he built a
Yeah.
boat even though there was
Yeah.
no rain. There was like nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what the song is about, is like, I know that what you say is going to happen is going to happen. So being
Mm.
courageous and building my
Mm.
business and raising my child alone, pretty much,
Yeah.
for 11 months out of the year, because we go to Costa Rica for a month out of the year.
Nice.
Maybe we'll stop in Uvita
I was gonna say
on the
maybe
way.
we should visit. Yeah.
um and just because no one everyone in my family is doing corporate, or they're just working a job that they don't really love. and they don't understand what I'm doing. So being brave and bold and knowing, like, I had to tell them just a couple weeks ago, like, I know this is what I'm meant to do, and I need you to
Mm.
trust that I can handle my own challenges and that I know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah, good for you.
I've always been taken care of. I've always been
Yeah.
able to take care of myself. Like,
Yeah.
I need you to believe in me. Like, I don't need your
Mm-hmm.
doubt. I don't need your worries. I have my own to deal with, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of some tough love. But it's, when you're like, like you said, a pioneer, when you're doing something so different, people are
Mm-hmm.
scared. It's scary, because they have
Yeah.
big dreams,
Yeah.
but they're not going for them because it's scary, because they
Yeah.
want to stay safe in their job where
Mm-hmm.
they know that they're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks or month, and that, the uncertainty. But there's this quote, it's like, where there's uncertainty is where all, I don't know, all these different, I don't know if it says infinite possibilities, but like, the uncertainty is where all those possibilities are
Yeah.
that you never had before, right? So
Yeah.
it's courageously walking towards in the
Yeah.
direction where where you're supposed to go, and trusting, right? That's another
Mm.
big thing, is
That's huge.
trusting that everything is
Yeah.
going to work out in the best possible way. And I believe that as long as I stay on track and serve, because that's what it comes down to, is I'm so passionate about it, because I know what I created for myself and my healing and all the things that I've done to help me can help another person and has
Right.
helped other women.
Yeah.
So, and that is of service, which I think we're all here for.
Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing. And sometimes I think that we get so stuck in our own mind that we think it's just about us. And it is about us. Yeah, we're in charge of us. But it's our healing and our light and our courageous movements in the world that get to ignite and illuminate others in the space of. And not that I walk around going, I'm in my light. Now you can be lit. Like, it's not like that at all. Like, it's like you're giving them permission. But some of us are rippled effects because of someone else who stepped into their space and almost opened up the system for us to have permission to do it. And we don't ever need the permission, but sometimes we look at it and go, well, if they can, so can I. Right. And it's like one of those movements of energy and courageous action, and owning this is such a key dynamic in all of our healing journeys and all of our expansion and all of the movement of light in the world. So powerful, mechanism to speak into, we'll say. Are you finding that, you have this conversation with your family, so you were able to kind of voice yourself in the space of like that truth for you? Are you finding that it gets easier? Because like I talk about surrendering and trust all the time, and it's two of the key dynamics. And the more we do it, the more I feel it does get easier. Yet we still question it. We're still, are you sure? Like, is this really a thing? Like, and I talk to my spirit connection through my right. So I'm always looking up going, are you serious? And I'm like, just trusting the mechanism of it all. But do you feel like it's getting easier for you? Do you feel like it's like right there that you can like make the changes quicker? Let me know. I'd love
Oh
to hear
yeah.
it.
I think the biggest thing that I have that I have learned is you find that there's still doubt, there's still
Mm-hmm.
challenges, but you bounce back quickly.
Yeah.
You Like, I had like this negative thought come into my mind this morning, and it like, I started to feel the clouds, right? You feel the clouds coming
Mm-hmm.
in. And then I got
Yeah.
up and I did something, and I don't remember what I did. I think I was writing or something, and then I was out of it. And I know
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that you can learn, is paying attention to the signs. When your thoughts
Mm.
start to take you to a place of doubt, of sadness, of worry, of regret, like you catch it early so
Yeah.
that it doesn't snowball and get
Right.
worse than it actually is. Because
Right.
most of our problems are just in our head.
Yeah.
They haven't
I
even
know
happened
exactly.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. We're worrying
So,
about a lot of things that we don't need to worry about. Like,
and that's one thing I love teaching about is like be mindful of where your thoughts are going. Because if you
right.
have
Oh yeah.
if you have some kind of anxiety, it's mostly all going on in your head. What are you thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
Oh,
also
so
other
true.
tools like learning how to release limiting beliefs, right? That is one
Mm-hmm.
thing I love teaching about right now is you have these beliefs that are keeping you stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
some you know about and some you don't. So
Mm-hmm.
diving into those completely changed my life. Completely, you know, you are hitting a wall over and over and over, and then you do this work
Yeah.
of diving into your limiting beliefs and releasing them, and then all of a sudden that roadblock is no longer there and you're going
It's
straight
gone.
ahead. It's
Yeah.
incredible. So it's just like, what are the tools
Yeah.
that you need to learn to get you there? So that, I think that's what I'm always learning, I'm always studying,
Yeah.
and I'm always like diving deep into what's going on in me so I know
Mm.
how to move through it. Because
Love it.
yeah, I think the biggest thing, if you're feeling any kind of negativity, figure out why. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even need to figure out why. You just feel it and then you let it go.
Yeah.
You change it up. So
Yeah. This is the thing, and I think like a lot of people get stuck, right? And they've been in this cycle for years and years. And I don't make a judgment call on that. I'm bringing it up in a perception of us to like look at and feel into, because I've cycled through stuff for years and years too. And, I would come out the other side and then be like, oh my God, I can't even believe it. My friends would be like, yeah, like you didn't see that before. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? I've been cycling in this for years. And granted, it's not their job for me to see my healing. It's part of the whole process of us, because they probably did tell me and I didn't hear them, like, so it wouldn't even have mattered, right? In the space of like the recognition of it all. But it's like one of those dynamics of like allowing ourselves to also feel it, right? Like you said, bring it into the body, because most of us are positioning it differently. We're putting it under the rug. We're not taking ownership of it. We're stepping over it. We're like, I'll deal with that later, when it's all coming up now for us to deal with. Wow, that's powerful. Excuse me. I yawn when I'm channeling energy, and someone who's about to listen to this or who's listening to this right now just moved something with that. So, because timelines are all happening at once, so the people listening to the podcast are listening to this right here while we're recording. So it's like, I haven't done a podcast yet on timelines, and I will do one about this because there's so many questions people have about it. But it's like, whoo, somebody just cleared something with that. So it's like it was moving through my body. Anyways, I float in the ethers, so I digress. I want to chat with you though a little bit. Do you have anything else you want to say about that before I kind of turn us into a new energy?
I don't think so.
I think we're good. Okay, good.
Oh,
I
what I
felt
do
like you
want
were
to
complete.
say, I
Yeah.
do want to say, I've heard some people say that when we yawn, like when we're
Yeah.
talking about these things, like you were talking about a cycle, it's actually a form of releasing it even more, like you bringing up and
Mm-hmm.
accepting it, the yawn, which you said it was like channeling, but
Yeah.
I mean, it could be both. I don't know, but
Yeah.
like you're releasing it even more.
Yeah. Love it. So cool. Such a good. There's so many nuances to this experience, and sometimes it feels overwhelming for us to be able to hold it all and take it all in. But all I want everyone to feel is like, what is truth for you today? Like, what does that mean for you today? Like, you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to, do all the stuff. It's like today. What does today mean? What does today feel like for you? We chatted a little bit about conscious creating and, connection to the earth experience. And, Costa Rica kind of pulled you into this space. And I'd love to be able to talk a little bit more about like the connection us humans have to like the land, and us moving through energies as a collective together, but also too alongside Mother Earth in that experience. And I don't know if you I just feel called to talk to you about this. And I don't know why, but maybe you have a story to tell about something that happened to you with Mother Earth. I don't know. But I just feel called to like kind of bring us into this perspective of how we opened, like when we heal ourselves, we also heal the land, the earth, the world, the people. But Costa Rica has a different vibration, and not everyone can hold her. Not everyone can stay in her energy long term. Most people get kicked out of here because they just can't deal and refuse to deal. And they don't even know that they're not dealing. They just are like, oh, it makes more sense for us to move back, or our girls can't handle this, or whatever it is, the energy and the excuse of the human form. But there's a potency here. And I feel like there's something, because you mentioned it, that you got to Costa Rica and you were able to like do some more healing. I'd love to just converse about this conversation, because I feel like there's a nugget someone needs through it.
Well, so many different things I'm thinking of. Well, I think when we heal ourselves, our respect, the collective respect we have for ourselves and the earth just grows. Mm-hmm. So in Costa Rica, as you know, the people most people, the people who are Costa Ricans, ticos, they love the earth. They love the birds. They love the animals. They are so good at reusing every single bottle that they buy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. They,
the tires, they use the tires at the parks, old tires, like the art, the recycled art, and the more minimal way to live. And I think for me, when I went there because I studied environmental science. That's why I got my bachelor's in. And I wanted to, after working for a little while, I wanted to explore sustainability and maybe do a graduate degree in sustainability. And Costa Rica just seemed like the perfect place to go to learn about that. So I went to and volunteered at a permaculture farm in a place called Villas Mastatal, in the mountain in the middle of nowhere with like 100 people.
Yeah. Love it.
And it was a really cool experience to see how well they took care of the farm, not farmland, like, permaculture, there's trees and plants and everything is, there's no like flattened area, which I won't even go into the pineapple situation in Costa Rica, but, permaculture is a very sustainable and conscious way of growing things. So I learned a lot. Since from the very beginning. And there's something to say about when you take yourself out of your comfort and you go, for me, I went from, I knew I could barely say like, how are you? My name is, where's the bathroom? When I got there, I knew vocabulary, but I could not speak Spanish when I got to Costa Rica. It took me 3 years to be fluent in Spanish, but I went to a place, it was very uncomfortable. And when you put yourself in a new culture, it doesn't even have to be they're speaking another language, but that's even more difficult, which I'm sure you've experienced unless you grew up speaking Spanish. I don't know.
I'm still in vacation Spanish mode. like cerveza por favor. I know a little bit, but not a lot.
It took me 3 years. It took me 3 years to learn it. But you expand your consciousness in more of a worldly view of how you grew up. I grew up, my mom was very much like, don't litter, recycle, we don't throw away food, I grew up with that. So I had that foundation, but Costa Rica just expanded it even more. And I think when you get the chance to witness another culture and how they live and to see the simplicity of living with less is so peaceful. I remember coming home and visiting my sisters who had children, and the amount of toys and stuff in their house gave me so much anxiety, because after living in a house that was just, all I had is what I needed and maybe a
Yeah.
few extra things. And I love that. And I think that when you experience that, you realize I don't really need all this extra stuff.
Yeah.
And you see the world in a different way. And you want to share that because, one, when we have clutter, it clutters
Hmm.
our minds
Of
and
course.
it clutters our landfills. So it's just
Yeah.
like this ripple effect of the more you open yourself up to a different way to live that's healthier, not only for yourself, but for the earth, I think it just naturally helps. I, we're all connected. So
Hmm.
as I'm healing my view, my grew up in a materialistic, culture.
Yeah.
As I heal that and to see what's true, the truth is we don't
Yeah.
need all this stuff. The truth is we
Yeah.
can live more simply. That that mind or that perspective, I think, helps. You know, I share that with you or someone else,
Yeah.
and they see it. It's just everyone's so connected. There's no way that you can, like I said before, as you heal, you heal the world. Like there's no
Yeah.
way that we are so connected to Mother Earth. And you can tell, you go out in the forest and you walk, and
Hmm.
there's and the silence and the peace that comes over you.
Hmm.
It's healing. It's, you know, you feel so peaceful and at home, like this. I don't know. It's I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but we're so connected. I think there's no way that that as we heal the world, that the earth heals. Because I think
Yeah.
you become not as selfish and not as materialistic. I think you see you see the world differently. I don't know.
You do. Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's kind of hard to understand in a way, but it's also very simple.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I
But
think we've, as North Americans, have complicated a lot of things on purpose. I think it's part of the strategy of keeping us confused and not in alignment and not really connected to our hearts. Because if we're driving always towards more things and having more things and moving more things, then we're actually not connected to our heart centers of deep rooted connection. And in that is where the power lies in humanity, is the deep rooted soul connections together. And when they're amplified, then they change vibrational states. And those that don't want that to happen want to keep us over here drinking alcohol, confused, working 9 to 5s for jobs that suck our souls, just keep doing life instead of actually being in life. And Costa
yeah,
Rica holds, and not just Costa Rica, there's all different parts of the world. And it could even be in your city. You just haven't gone there enough, inside of the space of it holds this availability for us to be and to really be. Right. I have this funny story. I moved in October, like I told you, of 2022, and they don't have Swiffers here. Okay. And I was like, I need a Swiffer. I have to go back to get a Swiffer. So I needed to tap out anyways, and I needed to go back in December for some stuff. So I went back to Canada, got like 280 Swiffer pads, brought the Swiffer back, and I was like, this is going to be the best. Like, I don't use brooms. This was me, right? This is like my high maintenance energy. I think I still have like 260 pads because over time I just went, why do you have a Swiffer? Like, you don't even need the Swiffer. Just use the broom. And now it's like me and my broom are like BFFs. And I'm just like, it changes the things and things you think are important in the life in North America. Some of them become not important anymore. And you look at and realize that you were driving towards feeling of the security, or you were driving towards a show, or you were driving towards look at me, instead of I am secure and I have everything I need right here. And yeah, do I love to have certain cups to drink coffee out of? Sure. Do I still have my high heel shoes that I do not wear in this country, even though I brought 10 pairs with me thinking I would need them? Yeah, I did that. Um, don't like it took up way too much luggage space too. I was like, damn it, I could have had like way more other things in these things instead of these shoes. But I digress. Maneuvering it through. But I love how you brought that eloquently in, like that visualization of the simplicity. And I feel more connected You know, I've had some people that come here for holidays and they're like, man, these birds are so noisy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I call the birds in every day. And I lived in a cement place for a while, meaning like there wasn't trees around. Long story short, of something that happened to me. And I would literally every day call the birds, and then they would come and peck on the window to tell me that they were there. And they would sing on my fence. And like, it was like, there wasn't a reason the birds needed to be there, but for me to call them in. Right. And I've watched how I respect life differently being here and how it's changed me. Not everyone can say that, but I definitely can. So
I love how you said that the vibration, right? So as we heal and are more
mm-hmm.
connected to our heart, to Mother
Mm,
Earth, we're vibrating higher. And
yes,
that high vibration is just healing in itself.
right.
So as we all, because we're co-creators of the
Of
universe,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So as we vibrate higher, as more of us vibrate higher, I think that also, like I said, we're all connected, will heal the earth in the
Yeah.
ways that it needs to be healed. Because it's just, I don't know if you've looked into, there's some really interesting, I guess I could say studies, but practices of people like in the highest mountains where you go to like these
Mm,
healing places where these people are healers. So they're like high vibrating beings.
mm-hmm.
And people go there with tumors and with cancer, and you have 3 or 4 of these people like put their hand where the cancer is,
Yeah.
and because the person believes it with their heart that they can be
Yeah.
healed, they they are healed. Like I remember watching this video
Yes.
with Greg Braden, I think it was, and it showed
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tumor and how it just shrunk.
Yeah.
And I believe there's so many miracles happening, not only to each of us, but all
Yeah.
over the world that we cannot even fathom,
Yeah.
or we reckon some people don't even recognize them because they're moving so fast. And I think, yeah, the more that we heal and our vibration gets higher, the more, that frequency heals in general. So
Yeah.
I say one of my biggest purposes is to raise the collective consciousness of the universe. I feel like I am here on this earth to do that. Um,
Love it.
and I think we all have a part in it, just some.
Oh, we all have our puzzle piece. I say this all the time. Every single person. Right? Yeah, every single person. I love that you brought that forward. And I love this concept because we are right now tapped into light codes, quantum energies that are us. They've never been outside of us. They are us. And we are finally understanding this at a conscious level, meaning we can go somewhere and we believe that we can be healed because we can, because every single thing in our body, physical form, is energy in our lives. So when we tap into the energy of it all comes into the space of creation in whatever desire we want. However, it will take us to do the work, to do the shadow stuff, to actually see it, to believe it, to hold it, to move those limiting beliefs through in that landscape too. So yeah, I love that you brought that up. And yeah, Greg Braden stuff, Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff, all that work is a really powerful, powerful place to be for sure. So cool. Well, Trista, I hope you're still here because I can't see your video any longer.
I can hear you.
Yeah, super weird. I don't know what is going on. My video will return when their internet improves. It says, okay, well, perfect. Well, we may not have your head for a second, but that's totally okay. I want to give you the opportunity just to speak, like, what are you up to in the world right now, and where can people find you? Because we're almost at an hour already, which is crazy. It's just been kind of flowing in my world over here. Yeah. So what are you up to in the world? Like, what's really on your heart to kind of speak into, and where can these people find you? And obviously we'll have it all in the show notes and stuff along those lines, but just love to hear your thought process and sense of that.
So right now, I my biggest motivation right now is helping women, and I am on Instagram at Trista Goforth, and that's where you can find me. And the biggest, I'm a huge, I guess, advocate for sharing information that's going to help women tap into their power, tap
Mm,
into that peace, tap into, you know, that thing that they want, that they feel is out of reach. How can you grow a radical self-love that you go for these things? How can you radically respect yourself to the point where you are no longer, all tied up in those things that are keeping you uh, distracted,
mm,
unhealthy. I help women mostly do two things, which is finding out how to release those negative habits, patterns, and beliefs that are holding them
yeah,
back, you
yeah,
know, and then also how to move forward. How do you step into your power? How do you know how do you know what to do when you're feeling stuck? You
right.
know, and I think that a lot of times it really has to do with you have a belief, you have a pattern, and you're
Yep,
stuck in it. You're like you said, you're in a cycle. There's a
yep,
cycle, and you just
yep,
go through it because that's what you've been doing.
yeah,
And some things you're aware of, like you weren't aware of it, and then sometimes you're aware or you're not aware. And I really love one of the ladies I helped recently. She was in a job where she was being abused like she was as a
mm,
child, and
right.
she stayed in it. And I helped her
Mm,
realize, like, you you're making money, it's good money, but you're being abused, emotionally and verbally abused like you were as a child, and that's another reason why it's hard for you to move on. And she was
mm.
so angry. So
Oh,
we
wow.
worked through the anger, like how
Yeah,
do you release all that anger
yeah,
so that she could send love. and
yeah,
and she was able to get a new job within 3 weeks of working with me. And she, when you're feeling depleted, when you're feeling stuck, it's just you need someone to kind of show you a different perspective on how to get out, because when you're stuck
yeah,
in the hole, you can't see all the options. So
yeah,
that's what I really love. I'm here to uplift women. I want to help, you know, women who suffer and who feel stuck and unhappy, to see that light, to see that power that's in them. So
love
it
it.
is an unraveling, and I'm having a course that will come out soon that is self-paced, and also there'll be some group coaching, and I do one-on-one. So if you need help with breaking bad habits, wanting to
Hmm.
achieve goals, break through limitations, I'm your girl.
Yay, I love this. And yeah, we'll have all the links you provided in the show notes. People can grab them, follow you on Instagram, and all of the juicy stuff that moves through. So last parting words, what do you want to kind of close this out with? Like how do you want to serve through your heart center today? Like the last ending, we'll call it, in this communication thread for today at least.
On like the last note,
Yeah.
um, I just want, for those who are listening, I just want you to know that you are more powerful than you can imagine. You are more capable, you are more worthy and loved than you could ever fathom. And sometimes all it takes is the courage to choose you and to do something different, and you
Mm,
can make your dreams possible. Like I said before, like as you step into your truth and heal, you can change the world. And I think that there are so many miracles and blessings available to you. You just have to take one step forward. And I think as long as you're taking a step forward and learning something, opening yourself up, anything is possible. Your dreams, your goals, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. And I love saying that all the time because we really don't know what's possible. And the more we open ourselves up to it, the more it opens up to us. And when we get out of the way and we let the universe and divine alignment work through us, it gets even juicier and better, which is so fun. So fun. Well, I've loved this experience. I've loved the connection. Grateful that we're in each other's worlds. Here you go again. Well, honor that system moving through my body. I'm like, apparently, maybe I just need a nap. I don't know, and I'm so just like real and raw. This is how I operate all the time. But Trista, it's been a pleasure. Like, seriously, thank you so much for
Colleen.
stepping in, sharing your light, and doing all the things. And yeah, just encouraging everybody. You feel called to this, tag us on Instagram, share it out, quote us, whatever you felt aligned to, like send it to a friend. Maybe there's someone in your life that needs to hear this message too. And just really, really grateful for you and your light in the world, Trista, and calibration we got to work within today. So thank you again for being here. Right, guys? Wasn't that just like a beautiful episode? You could tell her energy is super grounded and peaceful, where I hold a little bit more combative energy in the space and honoring the pathway. And there was so many nuggets that Trista gave to us in their one-liners. And I'm going to highly encourage you guys to listen to it again for those one-liners if you feel inclined, because there were some powerful things that she had said, some powerful spaces that we got to move within. And it was just such a beautiful experience. So I am just so appreciative of her. And like I said in the podcast, if you guys are feeling this, help us share the word. Tag us, spread it out, use one of the quotes that she said, share out the reel that you guys are going to see on Instagram and stuff, and help us spread the word. This podcast could land into the hands of some people that are really suffering right now, and this may help change their perspective. And remember, every single one of us has a light inside of us that is meant to be shone brightly. So keep shining, keep shining your light into the world. Don't give up on yourself, and keep having the courage to step in and be brave. And we'll see you guys all in the next episode.